Okay, we're back. We're going to look at number 15, letter C, to see what's wrong with that because we identify B as being the correct answer, that is true, and we're looking for true statements. The best that I'm able to come up with, and I don't like this question any more than you may have, is that it seems to be that it certainly will retain its identity, but maybe the nuance, and this is all I'm able to get today out of it. My mind's wanting to get through to the rest of the questions on here. But it could be that it retains its identity as a separately stated item is a true statement, but not true if there are other gains. If there are other, particularly if there are other Section 1245 gains, they will be netted together, similar to the reason why A was incorrect. And that's the best I'm able to come up with now. Very subtle. Like I said, I don't like it any better than you. But sometimes these test bank questions, where this homework question came from, they sometimes, as we've learned through this semester, leave something to be desired, and we do the best we can. These are very similar to CPA questions, so and they're taken from CPA Simulus exams, so we might as well just learn from the experience the best we can, because this is part of your process becoming a CPA, which is why people don't get 100 on the CPA exam by and large, unless it's totally by accident, because there's just so many questions out there that are going to have everything written that you need to know about the question, and questions do come out on the CPA exam that are bad. At any rate, let's move forward. Let's get number 16. What we're after now is share of taxable income for the year. In this particular partner, here's the partnership. It's Stout and Tyler. They contribute cash equally. They share profits at 75-25, 75 to Stout, 25 to Tyler. And that's despite the fact that they've contributed cash equally, which is interesting, and we may need to keep that in line or in mind. The ordinary income for the year was 40. Stout got a distribution of 5. What is his share of taxable income for the year? Well, the distribution doesn't mean anything. It's the amount of calculated income at the partnership level, which was $40,000. According to the arrangement, he's going to get 75% of that. So that would mean that 30,000 is 40%, and that would mean that answer A is correct for this particular problem. Are there particular problems later on as the partnership goes along because of the 75-25 arrangement and the fact that the concept is that they're supposed to, or they did contribute cash equally? Yeah, there's going to be some problems with that later on. But in the beginning, you just follow the partnership arrangement until the book capital and tax capital accounts show you something else. So for the moment, the only answer that makes sense here is A. That they have to share equally? No, they share according to the ratio that they've decided to share amongst each other. That was again, this particular part, this sharing arrangement, that's the beauty of the partnerships, is you can vary that, and it doesn't have to be in perfect equanimity of the contributions. Again, later it may make a difference, but for the moment it doesn't at all. At the formation of BD partnership, Betty contributes land with a basis of 10. Let's see what we're trying to get to, buddy. What happens when the land is sold 2 years later? So let's see what she had. She contributed land with a basis of 10. Fair market value at the time was 30. So what she was deferring through the carryover basis and through Section 721 is she's deferring what would have been a $20,000 gain to her. With land, it was most likely going to be a capital gain. It doesn't say inventory there for her, so it was most likely $20,000 capital gain. Dick contributes cash to equal her fair value of 30. The land is sold 2 years later for 50. Here you could take a look at the book capital account in order to help understand what's going to happen. This is Betty's tax capital account. Actually, it's not Betty's tax capital account. Let's take a look at Betty's tax capital account. Let's do it that way, and we'll follow her book capital and her tax capital, and we'll see how that helps answer this problem. So her tax capital account is going to be the the carryover basis of the land, which was $10,000. the book capital, that's where the fair market value comes in, and that was $30,000. That's great. On the partnership side, the partnership, remember, for book, since it took the fair market value as its basis, when the partnership sells it for ultimately $50,000, the result is that the partnership has a gain of 20. The partnership recognizes a gain of 20 for book purposes. This is the book profit. Remember, here is where we're looking at the book capital accounts. Tax purposes, of course, we know it's going to sell it for 50, and the capital gain, or the gain in general, will be 40. But we know of this gain, since 20 belongs to the partnership, it must mean that the other 20 has to get separately allocated, and it will be separately allocated to Betty. And that was what we call the built-in gain, her built-in gain. You should remember that. This was her built-in gain, or her big, as we say, built-in gain. That was Betty. And where did that come from, or how did I know that? When she contributed, it had a tax basis of 10, fair market value of 30, so she was deferring a gain of 20. That's her big, her built-in capital gain. So let's see what the problem wants to know. Betty must recognize a gain of, when the land is sold 2 years later, well, for sure, she's going to have a gain of 20 to recognize. The big will be directly allocated to her. What about the other $20,000 of gain recognized by the partnership? It's a 50-50 partnership. Yes, it is, because they both contribute the same amount of value. And so $10,000 of the gain on the book side will also go to Betty. And that represents another $10K. And hence she's got a $30,000 gain that she will pick up. Just to make sure you're understanding that one more time, the partnership level tax, which gets split according to the partnership agreement, the book capital count showed us that that was only 20. So 10 to each partner. What about the other $20,000 gain that we know that is for a tax basis is being recognized, because we know that the price it's sold at is 50. The basis is the carryover basis, which means we got to account for 40. Well, 20 of it is this. The other 20 of it is the built-in gain, which all has to be allocated to Betty, and that's why she picks up the 30. Okay, let's try one more. Question 18. William and Irene contribute $20,000 cash to a partnership. It was last year. What are we trying to get to? William's basis and the partnership interest following these transactions. Okay, so we're going to be looking at basis issues now. So let's set up to look at basis. They each contribute cash, and since we're only concerned about William, let's look at his basis. This is basis for William. We've got 20 cash coming in. That'll start him off. Last year, of the first year, they had tax-exempt interest income of 4. Half of that goes to increase his basis. If you're not sure why, check the basis rules out of your textbook, look at your notes. Even tax-exempt income goes into the calculation of increase of basis. This year he receives $1,000 of tax-exempt interest income in a cash distribution. So he gets back some of the profit of the tax-exempt in a distribution. It's not taxable, but it does reduce his basis. No partnership liabilities, no other income, blah, blah, blah. What's his basis? His basis is going to be $21,000, it looks like to me, if you do the math here. Answer is there in C, and that indeed is it. All right, let's take a pause for a commercial break. We'll be back.